to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I am your host, Robert Haynes, and I'm gonna, take you through the world of TSM, which we are in Worlds mode right now. Like, today, as in October 11th, TSM will play, or not play. Oh, I wish. God, I convinced myself so much in my subconscious that they were going to be in this spot. They will not be playing in groups, unfortunately, but Worlds has started. We just watched play-ins, which Cloud9, of course, choked the chicken, as I would say. He still made it, but boy, oh boy, was that a bit of a journey. So you might be thinking, like, Rob, what do we even have to talk about this week? Well, some of you have wanted me to talk about Worlds a little bit as a whole. We are going to do that. I'm going to put a TSM spin on it. Okay? Yeah, that's right. I'm going to put a little TSM spin on it. But I am going to start off with a little bit more off-season talk. Because, guys, like, listen, like, that's what's happening right now, right? And so while in other weeks I will, once Worlds are over, because I'm going to have like 8 weeks in a row for not only us to take a look at the roster, whatever they put together, but also, I am going to look back at some of the stuff from this past season and try to kind of figure out where we can make our improvements, because I still think most of our roster is going to be similar. And I'm very, very excited about that. But I do think that there is one very specific thing that we need to talk about. And I think it is the AD carry role. Okay? So here's the plan. We're going to go through the AD carry role first. Then we're going to go through what has happened for NA, specifically at Worlds, because this isn't an NA show. And then we will talk about, the group stage, which will be coming up here shortly with the FPX Damwon Gaming first game, which if you don't watch that game, you need to go back and watch it. I bet you it's going to be a banger. Those two have a very good chance, in my opinion, to be the two teams there at the end. And we get to see them twice before that happens, which is kind of crazy to think about. So that's the plan for today. And again, I know that we have talked roster, but that's just because that's what matters right now. And I haven't heard many rumors because it is Worlds. I guess small update is, if you didn't hear, Upset is out for at least group stage. Sadly, it sounds like when they say family emergency, it makes me think something really terrible probably happened. So, keep him in your thoughts, prayers, whatever, you inclined to do, because I'm sure, a 21-year-old kid, that's probably not going to be a fun situation for him. I don't know if we'll see him at Worlds. The one extremely small, happy thing there is that we will see Bean from their academy team, who I do think is going to be very good. So I'm excited to see him. I'm not excited for the reason why we get to see him, but we will get to see Bean, somebody who I had mentioned a couple weeks ago when we did the roundtable as an AD carry of intrigue to me for the LCS. And this will be a really good opportunity for this kid, because if he shows up, you best bet that a lot of these teams will be on the lookout to try to pick him up. And then we also had the whole Maoin situation with Beyond Gaming, where apparently he was leaking scrim results, or at least leaking potential picks and stuff for somebody to make bets on, so that he could see a little woman bits. I mean, the kid's 18. But man, that is short-sighted, kid. You just ruined your entire career for one girl's, upper airbags. I don't know what to call them on a show like this. Her breasts. There you go. I guess that's the way we'll put it. It's sad, really. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, and then of course Beyond Gaming went to on to lose pretty convincingly to Hanwha. Not that they had any choice. I think they had a top laner filling in the mid lane. I didn't really care to watch the game after I found out that they were cheating. Apparently, it may go deeper. So we'll have to see. For all of you out there talking about Doggo, as an option, boy oh boy. Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that one, because that could definitely keep him from being an option. So either way, yeah. So that's what's been happening at Worlds, in terms of the crazy updates, which have happened way more than I remember already. Like I don't remember somebody cheating, and I don't really remember somebody sadly having to leave for those kinds of reasons. They did have a substitute. It was Vizicachi, which was pretty cool for people who've watched the LEC for a while. He started off pretty weak, but got stronger as the season went on. But I think now he's probably back to his role as a positional coach for Mad Lions now that they've been knocked out. So our piece has been knocked out specifically. So, yeah. Let's get into the AD carry talk. So I want to preface this by saying that there are plenty of options for TSM at AD carry, especially should they go Bjergsen. And for this discussion, I'm just going to assume that Bjergsen is going back to the mid lane for TSM. The very last rumor that I had been told, the thing that I had been hearing is that it was extremely likely that Bjergsen was going back to the mid lane. Obviously, you guys heard Cody's son last week, which, real quick, by the way, before I dive into this, I want to thank you all who listened to last week's episode with Cody's son. That was by far my most listened to and watched episode ever. And I seriously cannot thank you all enough, because I am coming up on the 1 year anniversary of talking TSM here in the next couple of weeks, actually. The first episode ever was October 26th. And, that's crazy enough that is, coming up here fairly soon in terms of, what, is going on. I don't know what I'm going to do yet for the 1 year anniversary. Maybe I'll do a live stream or something like that. I haven't really figured it out yet. Let's just say that. I will let you all know, though, when I have. I will probably announce next week, because, we've got, what? Yeah, we've got exactly 2 weeks before the 1 year anniversary. So probably going to do something for that. Keep your eyes open and your ears not shut, but open too. keep them tuned in, because I'll probably make that announcement next week. Yeah, so thank you again for listening to that. And, sadly from the conversation, it seems like that he and I had, it does not sound like Cody's son will be an option for AD carry, which I think is important, to take a look at, because, it seems like they thought maybe he could be. But, that doesn't seem to be the case. So we have to look at options from all around the globe. And I'm going to just list off a bunch of different potential options that I think, these are the people who are all, I believe, available and who could be either bought out or put on a team. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down into the ones that I think are most likely, and then I will probably choose my 3 that I think TSM are going to seriously most look at. All right, so here's my list that I have in no particular order. Lost, Viper, Deft, I think it's Dekdom or Docdom. Pardon my pronunciation. Patrick, Carzy, Comp, Crown Shot, Reckless, Fiend, who we talked about earlier, Kedui, Yon, Array. I can't believe I'm putting this on there, but Double Lift, Tactical, Huang Fong, and Doggo. Those are all the different options that I see personally. Now, I'm going to cross a few of them off right now. I don't think that TL is going to get rid of Tactical, so I'm going to take him off there, especially if he performs even semi-well at Worlds. Again, we're all hyped for Danny. Don't forget, Tactical was the original Danny. I think he even tweeted that, or somebody tweeted that. And, I agree. I kind of felt that way beforehand. Then I am going to take off Double Lift. Guys, I just don't think he's coming back. Everybody's like, oh, my God, he's grinding League again. And it's like, yeah, he probably is. I think, if anything, he maybe comes back as a positional coach. Or an academy coach or something. That's the only thing I could see. It seems like he is really, his thought process has matured a lot. And he sees, the value as a streamer. I think shout out to I Am Germ. For doing some of this research. He was looking at, the amount of money made, and it seems like the Double is making like $500,000 or something crazy like that, a year from streaming, or maybe it's closer to like 250 to 300,000, which is a pretty solid living, even for being out on the West Coast. So I don't know if he's going to give that up, to be honest with you. While I know he can make more at the LCS. I just don't know if he wants to, because he gets endorsement deals on his own and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna cross him off too. I don't think Array, Yan, or Kedui are realistic options. I just don't think TSM wants to go with somebody that young. Crown Shot is real fringe on being a real option, but I'm gonna take him off too. I'm also gonna take off Comp. I know a lot of people are like, well, why did you even put him on there? I still think Comp was one of the best players on his team, and they just kind of sucked in general. So, meh. I'm also going to take off Patrick. I actually think XL are a team that look at Bean, to be honest. But, again, we take him off. I'm going to take Docdom off as well. I just don't see that happening. I'm going to take Deft off as well. I'm sure he's going to get looks. I don't know that this late in his career that he's going to want to move away from home, but I could be wrong there. I think TSM would be the only team in the LCS that would overpay for his services. I just don't see that with the other options. I'm also going to cross off Viper. While I freaking would love Viper, and he is going to be a free agent, if EDG do well enough and he carries hard enough, I think that org will do what they have to make sure that he resigns. So that leaves us with this group. Lost, Carzy, Reckless, Bean, Huang Fong, and Doggo. All right, so that gives us 6 AD carry options. And I think that they're all reasonable options. I know everybody here is probably going to say Lost is the worst option. I don't personally completely agree with that. I think he started to show some things that we needed in the playoffs. I actually think that last series was probably one of his best 5 games that we saw from him all year. I definitely do not think that he was the reason that they lost that series whatsoever. I actually think he was the main reason that they almost won it. Not the main reason, but one of the main reasons that they almost won it. So yeah, I don't think he's as bad as people think. I actually think out of that list, Bean is probably the lowest priority there. Again, I just don't think he's going to leave Europe. I believe that Fnatic will either move him up depending on, again, what happens, sadly, with Upset. Or I think if he performs pretty well, I think a team like XL, Team BDSD, I mean, he's going to be a popular top target. I can assure you of that. I could see Vitality taking a look at him. I could see G2 taking a look at him, depending on what the options look like for them. Maybe they see him as the next Reckless. So, he's been kind of technically training under Reckless as well, and now Upset. So, there are a lot of teams that are going to want a young, potentially superstar looking, playing AD carry. So, I just don't see that one happening, which gets us down to 5 more options. I don't see Huang Fang. I just don't see it happening, to be honest with you guys. I know that there's a lot of, there's a lot of hype around him, considering, he's still young. He, played with Sword Art, over on Suning. It looks like Suning is probably selling as well out of the LPL, from what I'm hearing. And so, sure, I think that could be a cool reunion for them. Again, he's still pretty young, and he obviously has Worlds experience. I just something tells me that while he is a top 5 option for TSM, I think that he comes in at 5 for me. I think there are going to be a lot of LPL teams that are going to want his services. I also don't know that he's going to want to come to NA, right? Because not only would it be a big culture shift for him, which people have to really take into consideration. It's not just about the money. It's the culture shift that keeps people from moving sometimes. But Sword Art's also only signed for 1 more year. Now, if Huang Fang had come over with a 2-year contract with Sword Art, I think that would have been more likely. But obviously that wasn't an option because Power of Evil was still considered an import slot. So I don't see Huang Fang being a true option for TSM. I shouldn't say true option. He is an option. I just don't see them going for it. And again, unless if they extend Sword Art, but if they extend Sword Art, they're surely not going to pay him $3 million a year, which I don't think that he's going to be okay with. And that is where, I also think I've heard another rumor is that TSM are spending at least 25 to 33% of their FTX money for this year. Meaning, so of the 20 million that they get this year, because every year, by the way, for the FTX deal, yes, TSM have a lot of money, but you got to remember it comes in, basically parts. It's 10 years, 20 million basically each year, or around there. And so what I am being told is anywhere from 25 to 33% of that is getting spent specifically on the LCS team, which I think is, that's a substantial amount. It's anywhere from 5 to 7 million, basically. I'm sure a decent chunk of that is going to go to Bjergsen. I'm almost assured that he is going to be getting paid some pretty big dollars regardless of where he goes. And again, who has the money to pay them? TSM. Like TSM is the only team that's going to have the money to pay him. And by the way, they are. I want this to be very clear, guys. We are going to have the most expensive roster probably in League of Legends history next year. Okay? I think next year we will probably spend anywhere between $7 and $10 million on our roster. Okay? And if this roster does not find success, then that's going to be real bad for not only us, but for the LCS as a whole. Okay? Because this is it. This will be the money spent. And that makes me nervous. That makes me really, really, really freaking nervous, to be honest with you. It scares me. It scares me a lot because, this is kind of why I've been like, hey, like, let's do rookies and stuff because if we can't win, with all this talent coming in, right? Like, I mean, Perks coming in was like, everybody's like, oh crap, he's going to be MVP, he's going to be the best player, blah, 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 right? Guys, he's not even the best mid laner in the LCS currently. He's on the 3rd seeded team. There is a fundamental problem with the LCS right now that money cannot fix, period, clearly. Especially if this team doesn't make it. Okay? So we have to keep that in mind with this whoever buyout or signing, okay? Because we are going to spend a lot of money on this team. Huni and Spica will be our cheapest players by a lot. But then between mid, AD carry, and support, they are probably going to cost, between the three of them, at least $6 million, is my guess. Probably 7, maybe 8. And then Spica and Huni will probably make up about $1 million to $1.5 million each. Or between the two of them. So, you split that in half, like $750,000. Okay, I mean, this is now to be fair, like, listen, these players deserve to make a lot of money, okay? And they're starting to get near, the highest paid players like that baseball and football and everything saw, back in like the 60s, 70s, really, 70s and 80s. Is when we started to see some like $1 million figures and stuff coming into baseball and stuff. It was after the 94, I believe, MLB strike that baseball started seeing the insane numbers that we're seeing now. Like $35 million a year. But listen, if a team like that wins, then who cares, right? And clearly Reggie wants to win. And I think Bjergsen does too. I think that's why he's coming back. So, sorry. My whole point is that it is going to cost them a lot of money. And they want to make sure they get this right. So that's why I can see Huang Fong being up there, but I just don't see it happening. But that is also why they're not going to spend another $3 million on Sword Art to have him play with Lost. I'm just going to be honest with you. As much as I really personally like Lost, and I think that he needs time to develop, and I think he'll be solid. I think we'll see him on an LCS team this coming year, and I think he will play pretty well. I could see him on a Golden Guardians. I think Golden Guardians are going to get an AD carry, by the way. Sorry, Stixay. You were very kind to me in interviews and stuff too, buddy. You're good. You're a good guy, but I think your time is probably coming up here, my dude. But listen, like, Bjergsen's coming back to offer, I think, this team flexibility to make some extra money, and because I think he wants to win. That flexibility means that we don't have to have Lost as our AD carry, right? Thus, the $3 million man in Sword Art, as much as he probably does love Lost, is probably like, get me somebody really good. Which leaves us with the last 3 options on my current list. Carzzy, Reckless, and Doggo. Now, I need to make sure really quickly because I forgot to check this. Let me see here. I don't think Carzzy re-signed. Yeah, okay. The latest is that Carzzy has not re-signed with Mad. There have been a lot of conflicting reports on this. I've been hearing that he's already signed before Worlds, that he hasn't signed. Listen, these 3 options of Carzzy, Reckless, and Doggo, I think, are easily the best options for TSM, and I will tell you that these are probably their final, at least in their final 5 to 10, at a minimum. Just depending on who they can actually get. And while I am sure that this team would be fine with Doggo, I don't think that Doggo... God, I forgot he's only 18. Holy moly. Man, that's you forget how young some of these players are, and he has so much experience already. Ugh. Yeah, the problem is that Sword Art's 24. Well, I mean, God, because you could get Doggo, right? And then you have your son who's been just kind of waiting in the wings, and you know, like TSM's able to play really well, and then Doggo, gets a year of experience with Sword Art before your son comes up and becomes, they become the duo in the bot lane, the Taiwanese duo in the bot lane. But then again, you're leaving mid lane open. Ugh, man, guys. This is a really go for it kind of year, to be honest with you. When you really look at it, right? Like, I don't know that anybody outside of Spica is going to be on this roster past 2022. Okay. I'm going to cross off Carzzy. That's my next cross off. I think while Carzzy is amazing, he's young, he is, I think, a very underrated piece sometimes of Mad Lions. I think sometimes he's kind of forgotten about. I just think that he is more likely to sign in Europe. While I'm sure TSM can probably go at him with some big monies, and I'm sure that he would love to, really surprise people, because he just seems like he wakes up in the morning and he just picks chaos. You know what I mean by that? Like, he just seems somebody who is like, yeah, guys, let's mess with the world a little today. I just don't see it happening. I think he stays on Mad, especially if they have a good run. Now, if they don't have a good run, I think G2 would probably be his option and his choice. But, man, oh man. It's hard for me to say if I'm going to cross him off. Which leaves Doggo and Reckless. Which I have not talked about Reckless a lot, because I'm just going to straight up say right here, I think that's their number one option. I think that's their number one choice. So, I'm going to cross off Doggo, because while I love the idea of him getting in with Sword Art, they have a good year together, and then your son comes in to take over, which maybe was the plan all along, which would be hella 5D chess from TSM. It would also mean that Bjergsen would have to stay and play another year at least, until they could find some, superstar young mid laner, which is tough, let me tell you, because there are only a few, and they are meh. Still got to see them. So, yeah. I'm going to take Doggo out because I just keep coming back to Reckless, guys. I just look at it and I think, all right, TSM wants the team that's going to win, right? And Reckless wants to win. He was the best player on G2 this year, by the way, in case you didn't know that. Okay? Not only was he the best player on G2, he was so... I mean, he won an MVP, I believe, in spring, if I remember correctly. That's how good he has been. And it's like... Yeah, like G2 didn't make it, but it was certainly not on of the fault of Reckless. And it seems like he really, really, really wants to win. And I can tell you right now, like, this team wants to win. And if Huni is our weakest point on the team, considering how strong he was last year, I think you take that. I think you take that in a heartbeat. And a roster of Huni, Spica, Bjergsen, Reckless, and Sword Art is terrifying to the rest of the LCS, at least. And there are some LEC teams, at least, and hopefully some World teams overall, that would be like, oh, wow. Okay. Like, listen, they may not be the best team out the gate, but they probably are. Like, Huni, Spica, and Bjergsen and Sword Art wouldn't need much time to kind of, like, mesh together, and Reckless is a pretty easy piece to kind of just slot in whenever you want to. And when I look at these AD carries, guys, that's the boy that stands out. It's perfect for a team that wants to win now. Why not grab the best Western AD carry probably of all time? And sorry, Doublelift fans, as much as I love him, he's probably second to Reckless. Okay? Reckless is just a different beast. He just is. And you think he is not going to be intrigued by a roster like that? 1 year in LA, let's go for it kind of a mentality, right? We'll see about 2023, but this year, guys, we're going for it. I mean, that's a team that's terrifying at all levels, right? That's a team that you don't have to be worried about Alfari anymore. You just stick Hooney on something that doesn't die, and you let Bjergsen and Reckless just take over the game. Oh, Bjergsen and Reckless have a bit of a tougher matchup, against whoever. Oh, okay, well, Hooney's going to step in here and do something. Like, this is the kind of team that performs well internationally as long as they don't let their mental get in the way, because the skill is certainly there. You have, by the way, which I figured this out, I'm almost certain that Spica's the only TSM player to ever win MVP whose name is not Bjergsen, by the way. Threw that out there on Twitter. Somebody can fact check me on that, but I went and checked real quickly. And at least ever since it's been the LCS, I do not believe that any other TSM player has won MVP. I could be wrong on that. Maybe like somebody on the teams, the Reggie teams before Bjergsen did. I don't think so, but it could happen. Either way, that's my AD carry choice. I think that's everybody's AD carry choice. I get it. I understand. I'm sorry that I did this whole exercise. I still came to Reckless. It took me a long time not to come to Reckless. Right? I tried to think of so many reasons why it wouldn't be Reckless. The only reason I can see is if he, if G2 are able to mend whatever bridge is clearly very broken with him, and he says, all right, fine, screw it. Like, I'll give it one more try. But I think that bridge is burnt. I think that they actually are going to end up forcing him out of Europe. I think he's going to be like, you know what? Screw this. I'm out. Let's go to NA and win. I'm going to, because like, I'm sure in his mind, he probably looks at this roster and goes, all right, I'm going to win 2 LCS championships, and we're going to go see how we do internationally. Yeah, I mean, the man's been to into a world semifinals. I mean, Bjergsen's as good as Caps, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe that's my bias. I think Sword Art's as good as Mickey. I think Spica can be as good as Jankos. And I think top lane doesn't matter enough for Hooney to be as good as Wonder was when they made that run, guys. I mean, I'm just being honest here. And it's not that Lost was the problem. And it's not that Power of Evil was even the problem, guys, for this team. It was that clearly the pieces didn't meld together as we thought that they would. And when you have two people like Bjergsen and Reckless on a team, that is clutch factor X. And then you add in a Spica who can swipe anything. You have Hooney who is a team fight mastermind. Sure, he'll throw, but when you have Reckless and Bjergsen, like, it doesn't matter. And then Sword Art is a vision macro machine. Dude, you put those 5 pieces together, and you've got each piece of Exodia, at least LCS Exodia, in my mind. And I think that's a team that, as long as... And that's a team that doesn't even need a coach, by the way, probably. I'm pretty sure that, they could probably coach themselves, considering Bjergsen was their coach. And I think that's a team that's enough to get Bjergsen back. I think that's a team that keeps Spica here. Not that I think he's going anywhere, but still. I don't know. I could go for days on this team. I think that it's our best team. I think everybody knows that. I think it's a huge surprise, but I think it's more analytically sound than most people think. All right. Oh my gosh, I'm watching Worlds right now. Like, I have it up on another screen, and Damwon is bringing out the Summoners Cup with them. Whew. Man, that's a scene. This team is ready to kick some serious ass. Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. All right. But that's a good way for us to get into the Worlds talk real quick here. So C9 were in play-ins. They crushed their first 3 games. I mean, they absolutely kicked serious butt in their first 3 games. I don't know why I said that. Ass. They kicked ass. And then, for some reason, against an 0-3 Unicorns of Love team that had looked like garbage, C9 forgot how to play. And lost that game. And then they subsequently lost the tiebreaker to Detonation Focus Me, who, while very good, I've talked about Arya on this podcast. I think Arya is an outstanding player, and I do think that if TSM aren't going to get Bjergsen, they should take a very serious look at him. I think most LCK and LPL teams will. Just letting you know now. He is the catalyst for that team. He and Eevee. Yeah, I think that's the name. I think even an LEC team will probably take a look at Arya. I would. But yeah, so they lose those 2 games, and you're like, oh god, here we go. But then they got I believe it was Peace, and they absolutely stomped them. So that's good. We're going to put TSM in this situation, and I think that they probably would have dropped a game before the Unicorns of Love game, but I still think they would have went 3-1. I think they could have probably beaten Detonation Focus Me. I really think C9 probably should have, but, they just kind of threw. And so, I still think TSM probably take a similar path to Cloud9. I do think that they maybe make it a little bit closer against Peace, not because we're worse, but just because that seems to be what we do. And so then I think they ended up, probably still making it out into Group A, which, let's go through the groups here really quickly. I'll say Group A last. So Group B is T1, yes, that one with Faker, 100 Thieves, let's go, EDG, Edward Gaming, and Detonation Focus Me, who we just talked about. Group C is PSG Talon, Royal Never Give Up, RNG, Fnatic, and Hanwha Life, which has Chovy on it. And then Group D is Mad Lions, Team Liquid, LNG, and Genji. And how I just listed those teams is how I predict them to go. I didn't really care much about getting it right. I more just wanted to pick ways for NA to do well. So, I think EDG has a chance if people can shut down Viper early on to lose. I think that's where 100 Thieves could maybe come in. But, either way. And then here's Group A. FPX, Fun Plus Phoenix. Yeah, the team that won Worlds already. So, yay. Danwon Gaming. Oh, another team that recently won Worlds. Oh, you mean the 2 teams that won Worlds most recently? Oh, wow, that's fun. Yeah, and then you got Cloud9 and Rogue. If you've seen the meme or the GIF of, because I think it was in both forms, of Yankos pulling Rogue into Group A, he's trying not to laugh in a pretty substantial way because he knew that they were probably screwed. And so we were hoping that if Hanwha Life didn't make it out, that, the NA team would get Group C, which is very, very winnable. That didn't happen. So here's how we're going to look at this. I'm going to put quickly TSM into all 3 groups and tell you how I think that they would do in terms of NA. I have Cloud9 finishing 3rd in Group A. I, honest to God, think that's where TSM would finish. Guys, listen, as much as I love our team, Fun Plus Phoenix and Damwon are very different animals. And getting them in best of ones, maybe maybe you take a game off of them. I can see it. But it's just, these teams are just, they're two of the very best. And I don't think that unless if we were really on it, really on our game, macro was working, micro was working, the draft was working, which we rarely had this season, I don't think we can win. I don't think we could. And I don't think Cloud9 does either. If Cloud9 makes it out of that group, guys, they are miracle workers, because that is probably the best two teams I've ever seen in one group. I mean, seriously, two world champion teams. Not just like, oh, they were runner-ups or any of that BS. Like, no, these are literally two of the best teams in the world. These are probably two of some of the strongest teams ever to play the game in one group. So, yeah, Group A, yeah. Group B, I think TSM probably could make it out of this group. Again, I think Edward Gaming kind of troll. I think that they're good. Obviously, they won the LPL finals, but there's just something about this one seed that does not give me confidence. And when I've rewatched their games and when I've talked to other people, they feel the same way. Well, I think Detonation Focus Me is a great story. I don't think that Ari is enough to carry them through by himself. And then I think Faker finds World's Magic, man. I think he does. I think he'd be the other team to make it out. And so, you know, while I would love to see Bjergsen versus Faker, I don't know if we've seen that or not. I'd have to take a look back, but I think that would be super cool. Obviously, it would be PoE this year, but I just mean in general. So yeah, I mean, I think that we make it out of Group B. And then last one's Group D. I think this is easily the group that Team Liquid needs to make it out of, to be honest with you guys. Mad Lions are the best team. LNG were the 4 seed. I think that they're strong enough to be the 2 or 3 seed, to be honest with you, but I still think that they are beatable. And I think Gen G might go 1-5 in that group. Gonna be completely honest with you guys. That is not a fun-looking group for them. Because I think Team Liquid are a super dark horse in that group to make it out. They played well in a much harder group last year. And now they have Alphari and Santorin. I mean, I'm just telling you right now, as much as you may love or hate Team Liquid, this team knows how to win. And they will find a way to win, and I bet you they make it out of this group. There's a chance. It's not a high chance, but there's a chance that they could be the 1 seed in that group. That's how much variance is in that group. Because while I love Mad Lions, I think they're freaking awesome. I actually think LNG might be my favorite LPL team this year. You know, just in terms of like, you know, we all know what FPX are, but I think LNG are a lot stronger than people are giving them credit for, considering they are the 4 seed. But there's high variance in all 3 teams in Team Liquid's group, and what is the one thing that they are? Consistent. When they have all of their pieces, they are very consistent. I'm just telling you guys, it would not shock me to see Team Liquid go 4-2 or even 5-1. I could also see them going like 2-4 too. So, you know, I mean, there's a high degree of variance for them, but I think that's more just because of my expectations of NA. That's not as much my expectations of them. They're good. I think you put TSM in this group. That would be like the most variable group of all time, probably. But I still think that we could make it out of that group as well. So there we go. They are on to Summoner's Rift as I'm talking now. Damwon and FPX, like I said. I hope you guys are giving it a look. Man, I'm so sad we're not at Worlds this year. But that's okay. Next year, guys. Next year, the God Squad. Huni, Spica, Bjergsen, Reckless, and Sword Art. Oh, baby. That's a heck of a team. If you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment if you're watching on our YouTube channel. Thank you again to those of you who watched and made last episode with Cody's son the most watched one yet. Also, I want to make this the #1 TSM podcast, or continue to. Please go listen to it on any podcasting platform that you have or that you like to listen to. Share this with your friends. You can hit me up at TGH Robert Haynes. Give me a follow if you don't mind. Happy to interact with you. I love interacting during games. Or after. depending on the day. You can also follow the Game House at TGH Esports. Head to thegamehouse.com. We got a lot of cool stuff going on. Worlds coverage, all that jazz. Go give it a look. With that, thanks for tuning in. This show comes out every Monday during the off season, and it's exclusively for your TSM ear holes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See y'all next week.